Good evening and welcome to another episode of Talk That Get Results. I'm Reverend Webbo Herbert, and as per usual, we are here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line? Address it to a Let's Talk program in KO Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis. Or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and 01700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and 01700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized, and when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards, but we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. Tonight, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening. It's good to have you back.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the many listeners of this program. And Webbo, it's good to be back. I was a little bit under the weather for a few weeks. It really kind of knocked me off of my feet for quite a while, but I'm getting there, and it's really, really good to be back. I want to say a very pleasant good evening to all those who are listening to this program here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, throughout the various islands, certainly up north where we have a vibrant Nevisian and Kittitian community, certainly over the pond, and all the way over to Taiwan, where we have some of our students. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here tonight. Webbo, I want to offer some words of condolences to my former classmate there in Ramsbury on the loss of his wife. I hope I got her name correctly, Shivan Jane, or better known to us as Shorty. My former classmate, Leon Herbert, originally from Cotton Ground, but who now resides there in Ramsbury, would have lost his wife recently. Certainly want to offer my condolences to him and her entire family. Webbo, I also want to take this opportunity to offer my condolences to the family of a very good friend of mine, Carol Zastro Remo. I've seen an article where they have dubbed him as a master builder, and I think that that's a good designation for him. I've had the experience of working with him on a project there at the Medical University, and I believe that his vast experience would have taught me quite a bit, and I certainly want to offer my condolences to his family. That is Carol Zastro Remo. Webbo, we certainly would have also lost another good friend of mine, Mr. Meredith Hendrickson, someone again who I've had a very long personal relationship with. We would have done a number of projects together, one of which was the completion of the credit union offices there opposite the Methodist Church. He would have completed that project after the British-American situation, and after the credit union would have purchased that property. And I certainly want to take this opportunity to offer my condolences to his dear wife and the children on the loss of Meredith. We have had some very intense conversations at times, but I believe that he was one who I believe always had the best interests of Nevis at heart, and he went to work every day trying to build this country. So I really, really want to say to his dear wife and his entire family that I know that he will be missed. And Webbo, finally, we would have lost our former Governor General, Sir Edmund Lawrence, I believe a pioneer in the banking sector here in Nevis, and St. Kitts, and I would even say Anguilla. You have done some remarkable work with the St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla National Bank. And I certainly want to offer my condolences to his family for his loss, and to the whole nation, because I believe that he was one of those persons who epitomized what I would consider to have been country above self. But to all those other families who are in mourning tonight, I certainly want to hope that they can remember their loved one with fond memories. And it's a road that we all will have to traverse at some point. And I hope that as we reflect on these persons who would have left us, that we can also look at our own situation in time to come. Webbo, I want to say to those persons who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I certainly hope that they are having a wonderful evening. And I certainly hope that they are enjoying whatever the celebration is. And I hope that they will be able to be around to enjoy much more wonderful celebrations. Webbo, thank you for the invitation, and it is indeed my delight to be back after a brief interruption.
And the guy who had an interruption longer than you, Roger Fifield, it's good to have you back.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I want to say a special good evening to all of those who are listening and viewing via the various medium, Webbo. It's really nice to be back after a short vacation. Webbo, I want to extend birthday greetings to my niece, Chavia, who is celebrating today. Hope she had a wonderful day and her evening would be much better. To all those who are celebrating wedding anniversaries, birthday, a special good evening to you, and continue to enjoy your special celebration. Webbo, I want to move across to those who might be hospitalized at this point in time in the Federation. We pray that you will get a speedy recovery and you could be back home with your loved ones, the soonest. Webbo, those who are bereaved, I want to say a special good evening to all those who are bereaved, of course, to our former Governor General, Sir Edmund Lawrence. I want to say a special bereavement greetings to the whole Federation, the Federation as a whole, as our former Governor General of St. Christopher and Nevis. Webbo, I want to say really special someone who is close to me in a number of ways. The late, the family of the late Meredith Hendrickson. He was one that stood out in the Gingerland area, the Zion Webb's Ground area, in a number of different fields, Webbo, including building. He was one who gave back to his community. It brings memory of our Easter camp. He was one of those persons who would look forward with great delight to give a contribution towards the camp. In recent times, he was ill, and we were happy, to visit him and his family, as we do to other persons in the area, the sick, the shut-in, and the elderly. We go and we sing with them, we pray with them, and stuff like that. So we did that over the Easter weekend gone, and I also had the privilege at that visit, Mr. Herbert, to have an interview with him, and through that interview I learned so many things, in terms of sporting. He was one of the first persons who brought football to the Zion area. He was the captain of the Eastern's cricket team, the football team, volleyball, netball,
Calypso.
Calypso, name it. Of course, I know his Calypso name was Sabadullah, and there were stories of that too, in terms of, what the judges would have marked him, so that he can not win, so to speak, the crown. I think he ended up probably second runner-up by getting some zeros. So I want to say a special good evening to his dear wife, Sylvia, to the children, Gaty, Dio, and Pedro. Special good evening to you guys. I want you all to stay strong for each other. We know that his loss is our loss, the community's loss, and you know, you guys would dearly miss him. I know that, because he was such a wonderful man. You know, words really cannot describe the type of person that he was really, Webbo. We know him to one who had a melodious voice. I think listening to Morning Inspiration this morning, I heard his voice along with his dear wife Sylvia, you know, singing, and he contributes so much to Nevis. When you look around, you see so many buildings and stuff, that has his DNA on it, Webbo. And all we have to do at this point, Webbo, is to celebrate his life, relive the fun memories in whatever way we can, whatever interaction we would have had with him in the past, Webbo. And again, good evening to the family, and may God be your strength, your rock, and your comforter. Webbo, as per usual, I want to appeal to all those who are listening and viewing, and to remind them that this is an interactive program. I would like persons to call in. You can learn something from us, and of course we can learn something from you. Just before I wrap up, Webbo, I want to say a special good evening to Mr. and Mrs. Liebert in Canada, and of course Mr. Truss in New York, and all those who are listening in diaspora. We're happy that we have you listening in and tuning in to the Caribbean's only powerhouse, View and Radio. Once again, thank you, Webbo, for the invitation.
Conrad Naya Liebert, who didn't miss any of that period. He was here through the storm.
Still here to the calm. Good evening, Webbo, and thank you for having me again. To my colleague, good evening to you guys. Welcome back. After a storm, there's a calm, but I'm not sure if the calm has arrived yet. So, of course, I personally would like to hear you guys' opinion on the debate that was engulfing the various radio stations and the minds of the people here on Nevis. I would like to heal up my friends in the international circle, friends in Toronto, friends in Connecticut, friends in Florida, who are always in tune to this program. I've been getting a few calls from overseas and asking me about what is going on here in Nevis, and that makes me feel like that, yeah, there are people who in the diaspora, Nevisians, who are, die-hard Nevisians, and people who are very much interested in the direction which the country is going. And so I know we're reaching. I would like to say thanks for those that have been having us into their home continually for all these many years. And as my good friend always say, it's an interactive program, and so we'd like to hear people's opinion on the various issues that are affecting us. I, for one, love to be a part of this conversation. So many people ask me sometimes if I've been paid to go on radio and all such things, and he said, no, it's just a conversation. It's almost like a community thing for me, being a part of these very important debates. And sometimes the consequences are a bit heavy, when one expresses certain opinion and take certain sides on the debate. But I think we all are fighting, for the same reason, for a better Nevis, and that's why I like to play it fair, and that's why sometimes I'm very impartial as to what is going on. Webbo, I'm happy to be here once again, and I appreciate you requesting my presence, not just tonight, but over the many years. I appreciate the people that communicate with me on the road on these various issues. I want you to brave up. I want you people to brave up and call in, and because I cannot represent all the various ideas, and I cannot answer all the questions at times. And I'm sure, we got to break that ice. We got to break that ice. We got to be, I wouldn't even want to use the word fearless, but to just be a part of it. And I'm sure, the obstacles that sometimes, and the impediments that prevents one from actually voicing their opinion on this very widely listened program will slightly, and over time, would be removed, because it would become the norm where people just express their opinion. I ask the politicians to give the people a break, you know. You don't have to always victimize them because they have a different opinion. We all are fighting for the same thing here on Ireland, a better Nevis. And at the end of the day, we are all Nevisians, and we have a nice little community, a very, very beautiful little island here. And of course, we and everyone should have that right to express themselves, and without fear of the repercussions and so forth. I for one, I've become accustomed to the consequences of expressing my opinion, so it doesn't really affect me at all. I ask that people, you know, we take that stand, you know. For those who've been trying to enter, trying to elevate themselves, I say keep on doing it. You know, life is there to live, and life is one big road with lots of signs, and you would ride into the hardship, but don't complicate your mind, you know, and remember to just free yourself from the envy, hatred, and jealousy, and remember also not to bury your thoughts and put those visions to reality, because we got an island to bail, we got a family to bail, we got the good to represent, and of course let's just be more positive and conscious of our purpose here on Nevis, here in the world, I suppose, and that is to make the place a better place. Webbo, once again, I say thank you for having me, and of course I look forward to another good debate tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what we got?
Well, I expect those who have been away for a while may have their cup full and running over, so I'll yield the mic.
Well, Webbo, again, I'm happy to be back, Webbo. I would have listened in on one or two of the programs while I was out, and Naya did said in his opening statement that he would probably like to hear our views on what transpired over the past couple of weeks. What I would say to the listeners, Webbo, first and foremost, what I did, I did equip myself with a copy of the legislation, and I found it to be very simple, very straightforward, and very easy to understand. And so I'm not sure how much I can add to it. I would encourage persons to get a copy. You know, I have a soft copy on my phone, you know, that, you know, I can share if persons are so desirous to get a copy.
Well, over the last few weeks, we have heard quite a bit of chatter about the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act number 2025 of 2021. And like Roger, I brought the copy that was actually passed at the Federal Parliament. And I, like Roger as well, would try and encourage our people to get access to this document and familiarize themselves with it. I want to Webbo to highlight just a few sections, if you may, of that Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act 2025. And I want to look at what are some of the objectives of that piece of legislation. It speaks to the promotion of sustainable development in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to pause there for a moment, because I believe that we as a small island developing state continue to promote sustainable development here in St. Kitts and Nevis in all forms. We continue to promote sustainability in renewable energy. We continue to promote sustainability in food security. We continue to promote sustainability in things like our development in our tourism infrastructure. So I believe that this special sustainability zone fits right into the concept of sustainability here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It also speaks, Webbo, to promote the protection of investment made by zone developers. And I feel that that's an area where we continue to invite perhaps investors to try and make St. Kitts and Nevis their home. And the idea is that with this sustainability zone authorization bill, can give any investor some level of comfort once they invest here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Webbo, it promotes things like water security, energy transition, food security, sustainable industry, sustainable settlement, circular economy, social protection. And all of these are areas within that document that I feel that would fit right into the mechanism that we are seeking to promote here in St. Kitts and Nevis as it regards to sustainable development. And I feel, as Roger would have indicated earlier, that I feel that our people can perhaps equip themselves with taking up this document, looking at it, reading it, digesting it, and of course, if there are things inside of it that they are not clear on, they can probably ask some questions. But I feel, Webbo, that it is a piece of document that I feel can have some benefits to the people and to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, Niall.
I agree with you, Spencer, Mr. Brand, Honorable Spencer Brand. I totally agree with you with the as it relates to the ease and comfort in reading the document. Just for some of us. I know it's very accessible, but I know there are some who would not bother to read the document. There are some who probably would not easily comprehend the document. And of course, then there are some who will be left to the whims and fancies of those who can read and understand the document. Personally, I've been a part of the debate, but I'm not sure that the document is a problem. To me, the document provides a framework.
Absolutely.
And some may have argued that the document is kind of loosely put together, and it offers that space that investors can flex beyond what is written. But is one thing I don't want is for those who have the representative of the people to feel like the people cannot imagine, the people cannot think. One would say the document is here, the document is clear, but I know, and the document is lawful. But I know investors and everyday people always pushes the boundaries of the law at times, always pushes the boundaries of the framework. And of course, people have that right and that inclination to imagine the actual working of the sustainability zone And I don't want them to be shut down. I don't want the imagination, because here's where people would find reasons to ask questions. I mean, to just say, well, the document is here and everything is going to work according to the document is to me probably would not be accurate in every circumstance. I believe there are people, and a circumstance can be created. Even the document is properly followed, and certain forces can be developed within the working of the document that probably affects people who probably don't want to sell their land, or find themselves in physically close to the operation of, say, a sustainability zone. I find forces can be applied to those people. I hear a lot of talk about people being forced to sell the land, or people should not be forced to sell the land. It's not always by words, but sometimes it's by circumstance. If you happen to have land next to the sustainable zone, you might find yourself a bit troubled for some reason or the other. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live that close to these people. When I say these people, I mean they're everyday people, but the general operation of what is going on within a sustainable zone. There's nothing wrong with a sustainable zone. I mean, the abbreviation sustainable sounds good, sounds great. I'm not sure how much that would be compromised in our quest to invite and to encourage an investment. I mean, some may argue the particular project that is in the making, this is not going to happen. No one at this point can give me that 100% accuracy, or even 95 or 90, that it would happen. I have not heard much of talk about track record of these individuals, these people who actually want to do something, and to me that is important. I know we have had the bad experience of the Newfoundland, and so even though there is so much chatter and so much debate and hype about this, no one is certain if it's going to happen. I understand that it's being discussed at cabinet level and various levels, and at the end of the day, no one is certain that it's going to happen. The question is whether it would be good in its true form for the island. That is obviously very debatable. One would question, and one is still not certain as to the acreage that is involved in this development. And so it is quite a lot of food for thought. There's quite a lot of areas for debating. A friend of mine out of Florida, not the one I always say good night to, another one. He called, and his thing is, look, I think Nevis wants something. Nevis needs something to happen. He's very much into the fact that something can happen, something big, big like the Four Seasons. That's what we're hearing, and triple the size, and encouraging 7,000 to 10,000 people in employment. And he feels good about that. Then he started asking me some questions, like, let's start at the Van Zamre Airport. Who owns the land, on the left-hand side going all to the airport? And I was able to say, well, I think it was owned by a great extent the Yarwoods. I don't like to call people names though. The Yarwoods. And then we come further across, and he said, who own all the lands that surround Bansgut? Because the Bansgut people are not got a place to live. Well, let me take back that. The Bansgut people doesn't have no way to expand within their little community. I couldn't give him an answer, but all I said to him that on both sides, and the eastern side, the side to the mountain of Barngut, is totally gone. I'm not sure who owned the land, but there's great settlements all in that area, and to me, the Barngut people doesn't have no place to really expand within their community. And then we move closer in the area of St. Thomas's Church, St. Thomas's School, and eastern and western of that. And I tried to explain who owns these land. And then we move closer to Charlestown. And here we have the Four Seasons. And then we move a little closer to town. And then here we have Newfoundland, the very imaginary and Newfoundland. That company that had purchased, I think they purchased about 700 acres of the land. I'm not sure where they are, who can find them now, but I know I heard the NRP took back some of the land, which I think was a good thing. They were criticized and said they take back land, but it's got land, and land that every land is important. Every land is very important, whether it's got side, hillside, valley side, or what. And I think if they took back some, it's a good thing. And we've been looking at ownership of land throughout the island in large quantities, and this is about wait now. And then yes, we also spoke of like when you're on the main, when you're about to turn down to Pinny's beach, on the opposite side there was a gate there. There is a gate there, and before I know, people used to take bike rides up there and so forth. It was a good bike trail. Tourists used to do that. Then they put a gate and everything up there. It's called Mount Travers. You know where I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I explained to him, well, that's blocked off. I think that whole area seems to be owned by a family, and they've put a gate there. And then he said, well, I see what is going on island now. No, I see why the people are so moved by the sustainable zone idea. And these large chunks of land that is required seems to be necessary to facilitate these zones. But now you guys got to stand up and stand up about who, I mean, these are people who owns the land. They have the title to the land. How they get them, I don't know. And he start getting a bit aggravated and saying, but I mean, all these lands. And he seems to have brought himself closer to the understanding of the people in terms of their respond to the legislation, mainly because of the vast amount of land that the sustainable zone that is proposed in the legislation. And so I say all this to say the legislation is a framework, and it can be said that the investors should fit within that framework, but the amount of land that framework seems to provide for is quite questionable. It's quite frustrating to a little island like Nevis. And so whereas we can say the legislation is a framework and it's easy to read and everything else, these things are of great concern. I mean, not forgetting the vast amount of land that is owned by the Ambas family and all that. Forgive me for calling names. I don't like to call names. But he was very moved at the end of the conversation. And he himself said he got some land that his grandmother used to live on, and he's going to come home to find out about that, And, he did get a bit worked up about it. And so the issue of these large chunk of land in our little island is very worrying. I know it's been said that the land in the south is owned by over 200 landowners and so forth. And everyone has a right to sell their land, and we've been fed so much information about people who sell and who don't want to sell. If I had a piece over there, it would have been totally left to me, and my offspring, whether or not I'm willing to sell, to be quite honest. And I think everyone have that right. you know, and so the legislation is a framework, but it has some deep concerns, and rightly so, and of course, to me personally, I don't think the legislation is the big thing about this thing. You know, it's to me, the way the whole matter has been dealt with, has been introduced to the people of Nevis in particular, and I wish that the people was more comfortable in a general sense with it. I mean, we can talk politics all night, but if we really move away from that and be reasonable to ourselves and our consciousness, I think the introduction of this whole possible investment and issues surrounding it should have been more clear and more effectively introduced to the people in a reasonable way. It's not my final word, but I think transparency is important. Don't let the people to start, and people will, regardless of what. But I think there are a lot of things that, to me, as our good friend Edric would say, is a bit fishy, and points to and leads to skepticism and discomfort amongst the people. I do hope that whatever investment is coming to the island is one that would seriously benefit the island in a positive way. In a positive way. One would think that, okay, he's going to employ 7,000 people, and, you know, we still don't know the magnitude of this thing. We still don't know the acreage, you know. I have not heard about track records of these people. And to me, it's very much in the wind. It's very much in the wind.
Naya, I just want to correct something you said in your presentation. You indicated that the amount of land in the proposed, I'm paraphrasing. I just wanted to say to the listeners that the legislation does not give a quantum or an acreage of land to this. There is no amount in the Sustainable Zone Authorization Bill. It does not say 10 acres, 100 acres, 5,000 acres. It does not say that. So I just wanted to clarify that point. I think that how the Special Sustainability Zone Act is constructed, it is up to the developers to present to the government as to what acreage they would be able to form the development on. So I don't want our listeners to hear that there is in the bill that there is a prescribed amount of land it does not exist in the legislation.
Oh, I didn't say that either.
You also indicated that
I didn't say there was any prescribed amount in the.
Well, I just wanted to. I think you alluded to the amount of land, so I'm just telling you that there was not an amount that was in the legislation. Second thing, you indicated that representative of the people perhaps may think that people cannot think or imagine. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. I would hope, Naya, that
I said to allow the people to think
and imagine. Yeah, I would hope that our people would think and imagine, because I believe that it allows us to have that conversation that we are having, right? It would be foolish for anyone as a representative to think that the people in the country should not think and should not imagine. So I would think that that is something that I don't think that we should be too worried about if our people are thinking and imagining, because I think that is what we want our people to do, to have the various perspective on certain things that is happening in the country. You also went on to a number of different areas of Nevis where you spoke about Barnesgate, Newcastle, Newfoundland,
Ambas.
Yeah, up in Anbas. You mentioned that the NRP would have taken back some land from Newfoundland. I am not so sure if that is accurate. I am not certain if that is accurate. But
okay. Is it inaccurate?
Like I said, I'm not certain if it's accurate. I am not totally certain of that information. But it is something that I'm sure that we can easily verify. You also said something which was quite interesting. Nothing wrong with sustainable zone.
No.
Right. And that is why we have, in my humble opinion, gone to Parliament and create a framework for such a possibility. Right, and I think the government would have created the framework for that possibility. You mentioned earlier that there are things that are not certain and absolute, and you're correct. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't have any guarantee or any absolute definite position as to what will happen tomorrow. So I agree with you with that there are things that are not absolute and not certain. But I think in general context, Naya, I feel that this act, as you indicated, create a framework, and I believe that it is just up for us to have that conversation, digest the pros and cons of it, and see where it goes.
If I may butt in here. From the various discussions over the past weeks and also this evening, I want to believe that we on the island of Nevis would agree that we want more investment. We want to see our island built out in a way that persons could get more cash flow, to get more monies in the pocket to do whatever they are desirous of doing. Having said that, if indeed we want more investment and there are proposed investors that are out there and willing to come, why not allow them to come? It appears as if to me the argument is, we are quote unquote giving up too much of our lands. As Mr. Brand rightfully said, there is no acreage in the legislation. We know that St. is bigger than us in terms of landmass. And if we feel so strong about giving up, quote unquote, so many acreage of our lands, I am not hearing any suggestions at this point in time that perhaps no more than X amount of acres should be sold and allowed to form part of this special sustainable development zone. If that is the concern, I do not want to believe that the concern is we do not want more investment. I believe all of us on Nevis would raise our hands to say, investors come. Of course, providing we would do our background checks and stuff like that, and know that who are coming are quote unquote clean. And so I believe that is probably part, should form part of the discussion. Are we saying that too much lands? I would have heard, as I said, I wasn't here, but I listened in a few programs, that from X part of Nevis to Y part of Nevis, as far as in the east to round south, you know, is designated, quote unquote, for the sustainable development.
Fifield, let me just take this. I'll come back to you. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night, Mr. Herbert. For you and your panelists.
Good evening.
Good night.
Mr. Brand.
Yes.
You're trying to contradict Naya because he talked about acreage, but you didn't say what the acreage is. Naya didn't say it, but you didn't say what it is neither. And then Mr. Herbert, another gentleman there, he has a good point. He backed you up in certain areas.
No,
You can go by from Brown Hill,
hello. Just by way of correction, there ain't another Mr. Herbert other than me here on the program tonight.
Yeah, that's the one I mean, not you.
Walk with me. The only Herbert on the program tonight is me. The other Herbert that you are accustomed to is not here on the program tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's Mr. Leiber there.
So you have Mr. Liebert, Naya, and you have Walk
Leiber.
With Me and Mr. Fifield and Mr. Brand.
I apologize.
No, I just said, giving you the necessary information, okay?
I apologize.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Brand, I mean, you say Naya said about acreage and them kind of story. I don't know about that. But you didn't say how much the acreage is either.
Caller, I want you to be very clear as to what I said.
Yeah, Mr. Brand.
Naya alluded to the fact in terms of the amount of land or acreage. And I simply pointed out to Naya that based on the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act, there is no quantum of acreage in the act. So if someone comes tomorrow with a proposal of 500 acres or 3,000 acres, that's a matter for them. There is no amount of land in the document. That is the simple point that I was making with that, Naya.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Now, on another hand, last night I was listening to a program and understand this thing here was in conversation since 2021. How come we just saying about it now? Are you aware of that?
Since 2021, you said?
So I heard last night I was listening to another program and understand this process of this land story and this load of confusion what we're talking about now was since 2021, but we just hearing about it now. That's why we got all these load of talk.
Yeah, but caller, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
That load of confusion that you're talking about and this land story and so sometimes get people in trouble, especially when they come here, because we try to deal with the facts. And so when you hear things people say, load of story and thing and not straight, and so are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm following you, Edric.
Okay.
Edric, yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, sir. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, I think I have to go back to Fifield.
Yes, thank you, Webbo. Yes, so the simple point I was trying to make is that most of us, I want to believe, would want investment. It doesn't matter which side of the fence we sit on. And if indeed we want investment, and if the the problematic area here is the amount of lands that, quote unquote, we as divisions would be giving up. You know, then I think suggestions should be made to have acreage in the legislation.
No acreage is in the legislation.
None is in it, but this is what I'm saying. Webbo.
Okay, just let me take this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert.
Yes.
And good evening to your panelists.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, gentlemen, I want to ask a few questions. Anybody here have a good idea as to what the price of land per square foot in St. Kitts and Nevis is at this time?
Caller, it varies from different areas of the island.
Yeah, average.
Average. Average.
Would you say about $8?
I think it may be a little lower than that. Let's say
Okay.
between 6 and
6
5
and
to
between
7 if you want to be average and conservative.
Okay then. All right. Does anybody here know anybody in St. Kitts or Nevis that have land that the value of that land is $100? I'm asking this question for a reason. Do anybody here know that anybody in St. Kitts or Nevis would have land and the value of that land is only $100?
No.
Per square foot?
No, $100 total.
No.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm asking this question is because last week I called and one of the panelists that was on this show, we had a little conversation. So let me say here no. If any one of you guys could answer, if you have 1 acre of land, value, let's say roughly $200,000, and I have, I have an acre of land, value $200,000, and you have the $200,000 in cash. Anybody can answer. Would you put that $200,000 under your bed? Hello?
No.
No. Because that's what that's what the panelists was suggesting, that if you have some monies, you would put it under your bed, because we was talking about land and value, and we all agree that you don't know anybody in St. Kitts Nevis to have land that only value $100, because he went on to say if he have $100 and put it under his bed. But I find that was irrelevant, because we was talking about the value of land, and also that land is an asset and cash is an asset. So then you're saying that you have $200,000. I have an acre of land which value the same thing. If you have $200,000, you probably will put that in a savings or in a direct investment. Am I right?
Following you.
Okay. So, some people seem to think that even a savings is not an investment. But indeed it is, because savings appreciate. Do we agree? Say, if you put $100,000 in the bank and leave it there, it appreciates, doesn't it?
Yes, generate interest.
Yes.
It generates interest. It may not generate a lot of money, but of course it generates interest. But what I know most people do, if they have $200,000, they may put some into savings and they may invest some in a direct investment. But this panelist was trying to say that monies don't appreciate and only land that appreciate. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I wonder if you guys understand what I'm saying.
I'm following you. I think you're speaking towards, because sometimes what happens is that you may have land as asset, and you may have plenty land, so to speak.
Yes.
But you don't have the liquidity.
Yes.
You don't have the cash in hand to do you know, the everyday business, maybe to pay your workers and stuff like that. And we have to ask ourselves a question, especially where that those lands have been talked about. I mean, persons have lands there for probably a number of years. And when they look, before the stock came up, they probably, maybe some of them, I don't know who the landowners are, so let me just put that on record. But maybe some of them would have been saying to themselves, look, how can I get some monies? You know, I have land, but who is going to be buying lands at this point in time? I'm speaking before all of this came up, huh? You know, who's going to buy lands at this point in time, you know, at that area? And maybe some of them would have been very happy to learn about persons purchasing land in that area, to give them some relief, so to speak, so they could have liquidity to do a number of things. Now, when you have land, you can do certain things because the bank would recognize land as asset, and of course, over time, it would appreciate. Now, also, when you have liquidity, you can also do certain things that land cannot do. You know, you have the land there, you have the asset, but yes, it could be used as collateral. Yes, we understand that, but can you buy a car with it, for example? Can you pay your children's student loan with it? So this is what I'm saying. We have to understand each individual would have different needs, and this is why each individual, it would come down to them as the owner of the land if they want to sell or not. And it may very well be depends on their circumstance at present. And if persons are discouraging persons to sell who want to sell, and let's say that particular piece of land value, I'm going to use small figures, $1,000, right? Would that person who is discouraging A from selling the land give that person $1,000?
Well, I don't know. But Raja, I could use several examples, but let me just use one.
Okay, caller, you want?
I don't know, Mr. Herbert. So once somebody have a piece of land value $200,000, the other person has $200,000 in cash. Both of them get sick. You go to the doctor say you need a surgery. The surgery is $50,000. Now, to me, the person that have the land, you can leverage the land, but you're talking about time here. You may have to sell some of that land. You may have to survey that portion which you're going to sell, because you will have to give the person a title. Let me just make it short and say, time is the factor here now. If you see what I'm saying, the person that have the cash can go ahead and pay the cash and get his surgery. I'll come off now.
Yeah. Well, the cash has more flexibility, you know. You can flex more with it, but the Carl was talking about money in the bank and putting. I mean, I'm no financial guru, put it that way, you know. But sometimes you put money into a saving and the value of the money becomes less, even though you're getting interest on the savings, because there's something called inflation. Okay. If you're saving just giving you 2% annually and inflation is rising 5% annually, then you find that the value of the money is going down. It's affected probably negatively. It is a simple match to me, I think. So it's a give and take, really and truly. I think I don't have nothing else to say about that.
The caller raised the and he asked the question about assets. What are assets? He gave the comparison between cash and land/real estate. You can also add to that vehicles and equipment. Now you are welder. You have equipment at your welding shop that are valued, have a significant value on them. Those are your assets. And I think that while the caller was trying to draw the comparison between cash in hand or land asset, I think that I believe that he was trying to make the argument, and he can call in and correct me if I'm wrong, that which one of those assets, quote unquote, are more valuable to you at a particular point in time. And the benefit of each perhaps can vary at a particular point in time. And it's an interesting argument, I think, that we can look at the pros and cons of cash in hand versus land, real estate. Sometimes persons have a significant portion of land. You often hear sometimes you're land rich, but you're something poor.
Cash poor.
And I believe that that is where the caller was going, and I think that he was trying to make that comparison. What option it is that we are seeking? Do we want to have cash in hand or land? And that's an argument I think that he sought to make.
I mean, a lot of people are talking about the lands in the south, and everybody's saying lands out there lying for 100 years and so forth. And people not doing nothing with the land and so forth. Is it the fault of us, the government, at times, the foresight of the government, and because I know in those areas, back in the days, probably we would say post-slavery days, when the white folks controlled Nevis, all those places were important, and all those places, if you go for a walk over there, you'll find there at sometimes those places were cultivated, you know. And it looks to me like we are creating an atmosphere for foreign investment, and instead of an atmosphere for local people probably to develop their lands. Not having a road around the southern side is basically a no-no as it relates to interest in those lands and the development of those lands, because they are land and very valuable. And I think it's the scope of what can I say, of government interests, why these lands probably have been laying out there idle all these years. I mean, don't want to repeat myself, but I believe interest would have been increased if there was roads going that way. Maybe if we were a big agriculture here, the Premier said that agriculture cannot be done out there. I'm not too sure about that because of the nature of the land. I'm not too sure about that because in these days you find, you know, with technology, a lot of things can happen that you think, you know, cannot happen as it relates to, because those lands, of course, you know, they can be made arable for sure. But isn't it the scope of our interests as it relates to maybe the government? I'm not talking about this government, but government that's been running Nevis and the federal government at times, why these lands have been lying idle. Shouldn't there be an emphasis to really encourage the landowners to develop the lands after, of course, infrastructure maybe being put in place, or some kind of government investment or interest, whether in agriculture or otherwise?
Let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Webbo, good evening. Mark Brantley. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. Listen, I'm listening to the show. Excellent show, as usual. And I think some great points have been made. But I wanted to just touch on a few points. One, a caller called in and said, oh, he understands from some program that he was listening that these special sustainability zones were under discussion since 2021. I want to say that that is categorically false. We only heard of a development in that area sometime last year as government. And the discussion on legislation, certainly, I saw a first draft of that legislation this year, not long before we actually went to the Parliament. And as I said on a different program recently, that draft would have come to us from the Attorney General's office because there were elements in it that the Nevis Island administration naturally would have to agree to. So I just want to clear that up because I am just amazed that we continue to spread so much misinformation. I'm quite happy tonight that Spencer, the Honorable Spencer Brand, corrected the record because I too listened to Naya, my brother, and hearing about the SSZ requiring all of this land. The SSZ does not set out any requirement in relation to any size of land. It could be a quarter acre. If it is that the requirements are satisfied, then that is how you get a zone declared. So all this notion that the SSZ is creating all this demand for land, as Spencer rightly put it, it is up to the developer to come forward with whatever land they have. I want, however, to address a separate point, Webbo. I have seen from the opposition in Nevis some very nasty attacks on a gentleman called Roger Vere. Now, I am continue to be amazed at how people just go online, take people's names, and decide to slander, attack, and defame those individuals. Why I'm calling in is because as I'm looking at the show and looking at the commentary, I saw somebody said something about Roger Vere and whatever difficulties Mr. Vere is having. And I realized that there's a concerted effort. In fact, someone sent me something where they're now trying to connect Roger Vere and saying that I am involved, my wife's business involved and all that. I just want to go on record tonight, Webbo. Roger Vere is not, let me emphasize, Roger Vere is not somebody who has proposed any development to us as a government, and certainly he is not the individual who has proposed this development to us. I have said publicly that this development has been proposed by a gentleman called Olivier Jensen. And so I am not understanding these attacks on Mr. Vere. I will go further because I see that somebody again sent me a WhatsApp message and they have the opposition taking Mr. Vere's land papers and published them and all kinds of things and said he bought land in 2021. I know nothing about Mr. Vere's purchase of lands in 2021. I can confirm, because I have checked, that my wife and her business have never represented Mr. Vere. And I can also confirm, Webbo, that Daniel Brantley, the law firm that I founded, that Daniel Brantley has nothing to do with Mr. Vere and any purchase of lands. I think that's important to say these things, because it seems to me that a level of desperation has crept into some quarters, where people are just prepared to make up stories. They get up in the morning and they say, what can I say today to rile up divisions, and with no care whether or not these things are true or false. And I hold a brief for Mr. Vere. Mr. Vere, I gather, is a very wealthy man. He no doubt can defend himself. But I just want to set the record straight, because I keep asking in Nevis, let us just have a conversation based on the facts. I very, very much like what my brother Roger has said tonight. Let's debate the facts. Let's talk about, is this too much land? Is this the type of development we want? Let's get into the facts. But all this row and rare and make-up stuff, it is really annoying, because I think as a people, we are far too educated, far too capable to descend to those levels. And I just wanted to make those few points, Webbo. I know it's a wide audience, and to say that I'm enjoying the show, but it's important that we keep the show factual. That to me is absolutely critical. Mr. Vere has nothing to do with this development. His name doesn't appear in any document that has been submitted to this government about this development. And there have been no discussions going back to 2021 about any zone. The discussion that I'm aware of are recent discussions. Nothing at all. You realize 2021 is 4 years ago? So, it makes no sense. And I just want to urge our people, please, stop making up stuff. Stop the lying. Let us get to the facts and let us get down to the nitty-gritty. Because all this lying and thing really just muddies the water, and it creates an impression of us as an island, as Roger said, looking for investment. Investors are looking on. And investors are saying, well, if this is the extent to which people are prepared to go, to malign and attack people, even people who have nothing to do with what is proposed, simply because they're trying to make a point. And I think that these things are wrong, and we can do better. So, I'll leave it there, Webbo. I won't take up any more time. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, before you go,
yes.
but you would realize, though, that, but I've been around for a while, so they say experience counts sometimes. When I told the caller 2021, this confusion and thing and stuff like that, that's just what it is. Don't, in a sense, he followed me, meaning don't bring it here.
But you see, Webbo, this is the concern. I mean, I had a conversation recently with a landowner owner on the south side of Nevis. And, you know, my brother just called in there and talked about land or cash. I'm not getting into that debate because I think the answer there is quite obvious. Assets are different. People hold assets in land, cash, jewelry, paintings, cars, equipment, whatever they want to hold their asset in. My position as Premier, I'm defending the right of Nevisians to do what they want with their property. Now, just a few days ago, a lady who owns lands in the area indicated that she has had lands in that area and those lands have been up for sale for 30 years. I want your panel and the listeners to consider that. She has been trying to sell her lands for 30 years in the south of Nevis. Only now that these people have come to say they want to do a development over there, are we hearing noise about lands and land sales and all of that. But if one person has been marketing their land for 30 years and can't get no buyer, what does that tell us about the prospects? And I hear Naya say, well, maybe it's the government should have put in infrastructure and all of that. But it is a tall ask, Naya, to ask government to spend what is probably going to be over 100 million, because I think Spencer is there. The road was going to be more than 40 million. We ain't putting water yet, we ain't putting electricity yet. To spend that kind of money through private lands. And in fact, I've been saying publicly that the lands have over 200 owners. Today I was corrected and said over 400 different owners over there. So these are just developmental issues, and I'm saying, let us just get rid of all the nonsense and the hysteria, and let us get down to brass tacks and start to talk about development for Nevis. What do we want?
Because the truth is, Mr. Premier, there's a lot of tributaries to this whole discussion other than the land and the price for land.
But there's a lot,
there's a lot more to do with that.
I have this thing I say, ignore the noise, but Lord, man, the noise is so loud. And it's so foolish at the end of the day. How are you going to tell me you're going to wake up in the morning and just grab somebody's name and you say, okay, let me find something on Webbo Herbert and attack him this morning and start to say Webbo Herbert is the one behind this project? I hear the cry from the opposition in Nevis, we want information, we want information. Well, let me ask the question. How can you have so many opinions and you know all that is supposed to happen if you have not yet had the information? Shouldn't rational, sensible people say to the government, give us the information, and then you form an opinion? But instead of that, you have it the other way around. Oh, 6 square miles of Nevis. Oh, these people are going to create their own country. Oh, the fishermen can't go in the sea. Oh, you can't go to the beach. All this nonsense. But yet they say, we don't have any information. Well, for God's sake, wait until you get the information. It's just like Webbo reminds me when we announced the airport project. All we said was we plan to extend the Van Sammer International Airport, and within a matter of weeks, there was a protest at the airport saying that we have sold the airport to a white man, and this. It is just, I don't understand what is happening in Nevis, and why reason has fled to brutish hearts. We used to be a place where people were reasonable, educated, sensible, and for people who just wake up every morning and make up a new story and peddle it out there, I am saying we could do better, Webbo. And as Premier of Nevis, let us do better. It matters not about the politics. Elections will come and the people will decide. And whoever is in government has to make decisions about the future of this island, about the development of this island, about our young people and what they're going to do. Are we going to create opportunities for them to have meaningful work and meaningful jobs so they can raise their families? Or are we going to continue with the Nevis, where we continue to export our best and brightest because they have very few options in the country of their birth? Those are the kinds of serious questions that we have to confront.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Who did I
Webbo, if I can pick up here, Webbo, one of the things that I would have heard to Webbo is the notion that Nevis is giving away lands to giving up their land right to sink it. So I just want to read from the document, Webbo, shortly, quickly. Part 3, that reads development agreements, and I'm reading from number 2. It's where the area, and the area in this context is the Special Sustainable Development Zone. Where the area is within the island of Nevis, the Prime Minister shall, and we must understand shall is compulsory language there, the Prime Minister shall consult the Nevis Island administration before entering into development agreements. That's A. B. Should the Nevis Island administration approve, the Nevis Island administration shall be a party to any such development agreements. And C. No development agreement shall be entered into without the prior approval of the Nevis Island administration. I just thought that I would read that quickly, Webbo.
Good evening. Thank you. Caller, please call back. Mr. Brand, you wanted to get in?
Webbo, I just wanted to read the precedent to development agreement. Roger spoke about the authorization and the power, so to speak, that the island of Nevis has once there is a development on the island of Nevis. I wanted to talk about the condition precedent, and in section 5, section 1A, the zone developer shall present an economic analysis by a reputable economic advisory professional firm or institution forecasting the proposed special sustainability zone is likely to generate long-term economic opportunities, create permanent employment, attract foreign and domestic investment, and generate revenue for the benefit of the people of St. Christopher and Nevis for at least 10 years after operationalization. Now, Webbo, I wanted to read that because Roger spoke about one section, and I wanted to let the people of Nevis and St. Kitts know that there are some precedent and some prerequisites that must be met before any agreement when it comes to any special sustainability zone. And that is one that I feel that once someone brings something, they must be able to prove without any doubt that their development will create the necessary sustainability for both St. Kitts, if it's on St. Kitts, and for the island of Nevis as well.
That's anybody else want to do? 4691616 or 1700. Okay, phones seem to be having some issues. Let me get a quick break.
Ready to save while you build? Now you can at Builders Paradise. Yes, shoppers, build up your Value Club points at Builders Paradise. That's right, Value Club members and shoppers, your favorite frequent buyer club is now available at the home of hardware and more. Whether you're laying tiles, painting walls, replacing doors, upgrading windows, or fixing up your home, every purchase at Builders Paradise now earns you Value Club points. Enjoy exclusive benefits like discounts on thousands of items, special savings for seniors, instant deals, quarterly rebates, plus an extra up to 2% off every quarter. Shop more, save more, earn more, only at Builders Paradise. Don't miss out. Start building your rewards today with Value Club at Builders Paradise, because every bolt, board, and brush brings you closer to bigger, better savings. Terms and conditions apply.
back on this episode of Talk That Get Results. Roger Fifield, the Honorable Spencer Brand, Conrad Naya Liebert. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616, 1700. We apologize. It seems as if our phones are having some issues. So still keep trying, but let's go back to the panel.
Okay, one question for you guys. You've been listening to the debate. Did this possible investment encourage the legislation, or is it vice versa?
I cannot speak to that.
If it encouraged the legislation?
Yeah. Did the possible investment encourage the legislation, or the legislation encourage the investment?
Well, the mechanism was not necessarily in place for this type of investment. And once a question has been asked, then you have to basically create the necessary mechanism for such an investment.
Oh, so basically,
what I would say, Naya, from my little understanding of, Parliament and parliamentarians, government officials, they are elected to Parliament by us, the masses, and they would represent us. As we cannot go into Parliament and speak in Parliament and, pass bills into laws. And they should have the foresight to know, what could happen on the horizon and to draft legislations accordingly. I don't think that governments, should be reactive. I think that they should be proactive, and I want to believe that if governments are proactive, they would pass legislation, not just for today, but for years to come, by just the way of foresight and getting, insights from the masses. The masses has a lot to do with it. The politicians, would come. They would lay out their plans. What they want to do. We would give feedback. Via various mediums and stuff like that. And because of the appeal, we would vote one way or the other. And then when the politicians become ministers, become ministers, then they should, take the mandate, so to speak, from the people and move with it in a way that we, as the masses, cannot move with it, through Parliament. And in certain things, the government officials, of course, certain things that they would come back to us. But then if we elect persons to lead, we can't expect them to come back to us on every issue. We vote for persons because we show a level of confidence in that individual or those set of individuals that would make up a government. I believe that if we didn't show that level of confidence in them, we would not vote for them in the first instance. And if we voted for them and we lose the confidence, then we have an opportunity to speak via the ballot the next time around. So I am just saying this because I believe that our ministers of our government, our parliamentarians, they don't necessarily have to come back to us on every single issue.
Not every single issue, but certain issues.
Certain issues, yes.
And this is one of those issues. You would agree with that?
It is it appears to be a troublesome issue.
So that. But I ask you if you agree that this is one of those issues. No?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your panel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. From my observation, it seems as if one of the strategies used to disarm or discourage folks from asking questions and presenting certain scenarios, even though they might be associated with these special sustainability zones or economic zones generally. It's as if we should not engage in what ifs, right? And I think that is unfortunate, right? Because it's not just about current facts. Things can change. It's a dynamic situation and things can change. But let me indulge that thinking for a minute. One fact is that the Premier said that the investors approached him with a preference. I don't know if it was a statement of intent, but they were looking initially for 2,000 acres. So even though there is no acreage in the bill, one has to be careful because obviously these people would be of high net worth, and if they prefer larger acreage, then it puts pressure on the adjacent land. Okay? And not only that, I think the number of persons owning land in the area this evening was put at 400 or thereabout. 400 people in Nevis essentially losing land. Yes, they might be getting cash, but essentially losing land to foreigners is, I think, something of significance. The Premier also indicated that if the project is completed, we can expect some 7,000 to 10,000 people moving in and out of that zone. You know, it's essentially a new town. Well, that's almost doubling the population of Nevis. And it has consequences that needs to be put out there. Because generally, when you have luxury and exclusivity, it's normally associated with opulence and excess, not sustainability. Okay? So you can think in terms, because you can think in terms of the infrastructure, the pressure on the infrastructure of Nevis, and essentially doubling well, not necessarily doubling, but certainly increasing the services that's going to be needed by such a zone. Okay, and finally, you know, I think we should be concerned with the fact that that large number of people with deep pockets, they would tend to wield a disproportionate amount of influence on the island. Okay, and I don't think the bill addresses those kinds of esoteric things that can perhaps happen. Okay, like I indicated when I was up there, I think the bill is vague. It's to catch all, and that in itself is a problem. Okay, so I'd like the panelists' opinion on at least those two things: the numbers of people that's going to be accommodated there, high net worth people, the pressure that is going to put on the infrastructure and services. I mean, these people, I imagine, would have pools and the air conditioning all the time, etc. Those kinds of things. And just saying that, well, that the onus is going to be on the developer, I don't think is guarantee enough that that would be in fact so. And of course, like I said, probably deal with the fact that the developer really wanted a higher acreage.
Okay, so we went over that before, right?
Went over what?
No, you mentioned about the higher acreage earlier.
Yes.
Okay, good. So
yeah.
right.
Okay.
Now, might I ask you a question?
Sure.
In talking about these developments, the sustainable zones and the bill, it referenced both St. Kitts and Nevis, right?
Correct.
Okay, you know of any development in that area or arena being proposed for St. Kitts?
No, I don't know of any being proposed right now.
Okay, so you heard you didn't hear about in the news. I heard about a day or so ago there was some Nigerian investor supposed to have a zone in St. Kitts. You never heard anything about that?
There was a container, this idea of a containerized port.
Right. So you didn't hear about that?
You're saying that?
No, I'm not saying. I'm
asking. I heard about it.
You heard about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but
work with me. I'm asking you a simple question. If you heard about it.
And I said yes.
Okay. Good. And so the other question that I have for you, you have any concerns about it?
I have a concern if, because it was not in the about a sustainable, a special sustainability zone. It was in the context of that project possibly being in an area that is currently occupied by a national. That was the issue there. Not so much in terms of it being a sustainable economic zone or special sustainability zone.
Okay, that's all.
That was different, I think, from this issue in Nevis. Right?
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
The caller spoke about the impact or the stress, so to speak, on the infrastructure. And I want to read parts of Section 5 of the Special Sustainability Zone Act. Section 5B. The zone developer shall present plans to develop the necessary infrastructure, utilities and facilities within the special sustainability zone. I will endure over time without causing harm to the environment, people or the planet. 3. Generate and supply reliable access to clean and safe water within the special sustainability zone. 4. Aims to secure renewable energy for no less than 70% of the special sustainability zone energy needs. 5. Minimize waste and promote the reuse and recycling of resources, fostering environmental sustainability. And 6. Are climate resilient and hurricane and earthquake resilient. I'm reading these, Webbo, because the caller raised the matter of the impact, stress and strain, so to speak, on the present infrastructure. And I feel that the framers of this act, Webbo, would have took that into consideration. And as part of the condition precedent that these mechanisms must be satisfied before any sustainable zone within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis can be approved.
Webbo, if I can jump in here. Webbo, the caller spoke to what if. And I want to believe that there should be some reasonable consideration to what if. And we have to look at what if in two contexts. We have to look at what if in a negative context, and we have to look at what if in a positive context. Now, if we are looking at what if in a positive context, well, it's smooth sailing. If we are looking at what if in a negative context, then we have some bumpy roads. So how do we smooth the roads? You know, there's the legislation. We have the Premier would have spoke sometime about town hall meetings and various forums.
And let me take this. This is one of the okay, caller is not there. Caller, please be patient with us. We're having some issues with the phones. Go ahead, Roger. I'll try and get the caller back.
Yeah. So what I'm saying You know,
okay, before you get into it, this might be the caller back. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening again, gentlemen. Mr. Liebert earlier, right, alluded to the fact that cash can appreciate and it can depreciate, and that is quite correct. Well, I know, based on the angle that somebody is looking at, they will put forth their argument to support that angle. But I also understand that any asset can appreciate or depreciate based on supplies and demands, market trends, varying circumstances. For example, if I have a piece of land and I have a property on it, and somebody come and put down a mechanic garage or something very close to it, it can cause that property to depreciate. In fact, I recalled, I came back here sometime and I was approached by a gentleman who wanted to do some development over there when you come between Barnesgut and going down to Catground. And we started negotiations and so on, and I presented a proposal and so on. And then later on, the person said to me, well, some properties are going up close to my property here, my land, and it's going to cause my property to depreciate. As such, I can't continue go ahead with this project because the project that I'm looking at is a high-end project. But in general, though, I don't even have to cite examples because I'm sure all of us know that assets do appreciate and depreciate based on different circumstances. All right.
Roger.
Yes, Webbo. As I was saying, Webbo, there would be what ifs. The Premier would have said some time ago, Webbo, that the proposed investment, could, let me paraphrase, 3 times that of 4 Seasons. If there's a concern of the number of persons, if there's a concern for the acreage, the amount of acreage that would be sold, I am saying the legislation at the moment doesn't have an acreage in it. Can an acreage be put in it? And if the acreage is put in it in a way that the development would now not be 3 times, but possibly 1.5 times that of 4 Seasons. I mean, the bottom line is, Webbo, we need investment. And to turn away investment at this critical juncture, to borrow a phrase from the departed Mr. Stanley, I think would be crucial, and history would judge us as a people.
That same history you're talking about, Roger, you don't think it will come into play in terms of the decision that we're making with this particular project too?
Of course.
Okay, good. And especially against the backdrop we're celebrating independence in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So you want to have a discussion and bringing in that history as to who we are as a people and why? You don't think that could play?
Yes, it could.
Okay.
It could.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
I'm back. Mr. Brand, you read from a document there, like from 1 to 5, and saying what it said. How long you have the document, that's one. Your leader said, which is the Premier, some woman told you, for 30 years like a piece of land over in the same area and can't get it sell. How can we prove that? That's all I want to ask.
Caller, this document was passed by the National Assembly on the 11th of August 2025. That is the document that I'm reading from.
The condition precedent, do you guys think in any way these conditions will be or can be compromised, given, as Roger has been saying, that serious need for investment? Because the Sustainable Development Zone seems to be the underlining, well, what can I say, idea behind this new concept. Because it's a new concept. This is the first time it's been done in the world, okay? I mean, there have been economic zones, and we understand that they have special laws governing them, you know, economic zones, you know, almost commercial, industrial sites, provides goods and services with special laws dealing with goods going out, goods coming in, and exemptions through the customs and so forth. You know, they carry the special laws. With this sustainable zone, you just read the conditions precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah. The question I'm asking: would these? Do you think these conditions would be compromised going forward in order, really? Because you said they got to provide recycling. They have to be responsible for 60% of or 70% of their electricity. They have to put in the infrastructure. Do you think these conditions precedent would be compromised along the way? Because, as we say, that's the framework, okay? And I asked the questions before, and I think we had a caller that speak to the imagination and the what if, as Mr. Fifield been talking about. Do you understand? What if these conditions, or 1, 2, or 3 of them, or even one of them, cannot be satisfied? What is the position?
Now, yeah, the thinking is that the Act also provides for independent oversight body. And the question that you ask, do I think that these conditions can be compromised? The idea is that this oversight body will be able to monitor the implementation of whatever agreement is being signed with either the federal government or the Navy Silent Administration, to make sure that there is no shortcuts, no compromising, no thing that they agreed to, that they do something differently. And I think that the idea is
meeting all exactly the requirements of legislation. That means it not happen.
Why you say not happen?
Well, none of us know if it's going to happen anyway. Well,
you know? None of us know that it's not going to happen either.
Yes. So I'm saying with these requirements, and I know you're talking about this body, and I yet to hear more about this body, because it's a question I've been asking. I mean, you're talking about oversight and body, but also, as I think the legislation speaks to, a body that would help assess the whole, not the pre-operation of it, but the
implementation, the compliance, all of that.
Yeah, or whether or not they meet the requirements for, you know, for operation.
That's correct.
Put it that way. I think I did ask the Premier about that, and he said that at the time the body was not formed as yet.
No. But the legislation was just passed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but you have a potential investor knocking at our doors.
Yeah. Take it step by step.
So you think there won't be no compromise? Or you in particular, Mr. Banner, saying that there should not be no compromise?
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Do you all ever think about on that side of Nevis to be like a safe zone in case of Nevis speak where you deal with a volcano? Mount shot Europe and destroy Mount shot down Plymouth, which you all know. Don't you think that that can happen in Nevis too? And then over there could become the safe zone where you all want to sell out?
Can I say something to the caller? Caller, from what we know of Mount Strat and where the volcano erupted, it was on one portion of the island, whereas in Nevis, the Nevis Peak, the mountain, is more central.
Smack in the middle.
So it's basically, we can say, basically no safe zone, so to speak, in Nevis in terms of...
Roger,
yes, sir.
I kind of know that. That's why I'm telling you straight up. If the Nevis Peak have to blow up there, so then over on the same side where no one looking at and become a nice now, also could be a same safe zone. That's all I'm saying. We no one tomorrow gonna bring it up. But if you look at the logic of it, something just be there for a while, just for someone to realize, and then nobody knows. But I'm just saying, eh? Thanks, Webbo. Good night, my Webbo.
Yeah, take it easy.
Webbo, Roger basically kind of preempt me with the answer.
Yeah, but the mountain is in the middle of the island, but I said that the eruption would take place in the middle of the mountain. The mountain stretches from Zion straight across to Fountain and,
But the crater is in the center of the mountain. I just wanted to say to the caller that that part of the island is perhaps the most distant area from the center of the mountain. And if Nevis Peak were to go, the lava flow probably might reach to Charlestown in 10 minutes, but in that part of the island it might get there in 15 or 20 minutes. The idea is that there really isn't much of a safe zone on Nevis when it comes to Nevis Peak. You might have some areas where the lava flow may take a bit more time to get to, but there really isn't any area in Nevis that you can really escape based on the data and the information that I've seen.
So that is not really a valid concern, basically.
It's not a valid concern? Yeah. No, the caller is a good point if it can't be considered. But I am just saying to the caller that based on where Nevis Peak is, Montserrat was slightly different. Montserrat volcano was not necessarily in the center; it was off center, off to the side of part of Montserrat. So a section of Montserrat was classified as a safe zone. Nevis does not have that makeup. St. Kitts, for example, where St. Kitts volcanic area is. If it were to go, there are areas in St. Kitts that can be considered a safe zone. Nevis does not have that luxury.
Are we expecting for these special zone that they would have such things like their own medical center, hospital?
They have to provide all of the necessary sustainable attributes for them to be sustainable.
Mr. Brand?
Yes.
When you consider this particular development, did you consider it against the backdrop of the history of the islands?
In some aspect, and we feel that that's an area, you spoke about the history, that's an area that is also very rich in history.
No, not that type of history. Because I figured that is what is
proper.
Walk with me. That is part of what is bringing out a lot of the emotion. Mm-hmm. Roger is shaking his head, right, Roger?
Ownership of lands.
No, not just ownership. Well, how we got to ownership. Yeah, you're kind of on the right track. Anyway, let me just take this call, because that's one of the tributaries. They're going to come with the thing. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good. Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good night.
Walk with me. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Quickly. Well, let me pose to Mr. Brand quickly. Mr. Brand, 2 questions. 1. Rumor. They use the word rumor. So that we're supposed to develop.
Hello. We don't deal with rumors here, you know.
Okay.
So walk with me. Ask the other question, which is not a rumor.
Mr. Brand is supposed to develop one hotel, not area. So if he's still interested, or if he sold land. And 2, if you develop, suppose earlier they said that okay, like the government slack in develop. Suppose the whole with this space now, they develop and get that?
Okay, let's see if you get it. You got it, Mr. Byrne?
I heard the caller say something about hotel development that I didn't hear him too clearly.
Okay.
He's still on the line?
No, because we're out of time. Who's got the last word?
Well, Webbo, I want to believe that more of these types of discussion, should be had. I believe that, all can benefit, residents, government alike, we can benefit, and I hope that through these various discussions, we will be able to chant a course that is beneficial to Nevis at present and Nevis in future to come.
That's the last word?
Yes, it is.
Nobody needed the other half a minute. This program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough at 8 o'clock here on Thursday evening for Government at Work, a place where you can spend all of your evenings right here in the Eastern Caribbean Spa House. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean. VON Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.